just had a thing for looking at the world full of curiosity and wonder, but I never thought that I'd have something I could use to just take. I remember always being on Facebook and I'd see that a lot of my friends or a lot of my mutuals would have these really cool profile photos, and I was like, oh, those are like really high quality, I want to get in on that. So in December of 2014 I got my first camera, and since then I've just been taking lots of things, and I think through those years I was able to sort of find a niche. When I first started off, it was more like just taking pictures of whatever. There was never really a clear sense, but I think through the years I've kind of gotten a fair idea of what really captures my eye and what I want to take pictures of. I think right now, especially now that I'm in filmmaking, I want to be able to tell a story with them. My family always moved a lot. So I was originally born in South Africa, but we moved to Canada back in 2008. We kept traveling a lot, so from Newfoundland to BC to Alberta. But even during those times, I got exposed to other cultures. I did go to an international school where I was exposed to a lot of diverse individuals who came from different parts of the world, and I was able to kind of pick out sort of their lifestyles, and I think that sort of broadened my worldview in a way of being more open and understanding of where different people come from. India, Tanzania, and Nicaragua were probably the biggest trips that I've been to, especially because those were all trips that I took in high school. And I feel like with each trip, not only did I gain a bigger understanding about me as an immigrant, it also gave my camera an opportunity to just take things of like the different landscapes and the different people that I came across. I'm really inspired by a lot of travel vlogs on YouTube, and so anytime I see a photo on Instagram from people like Kyle Shakur or Lost LeBlanc, I'd always have this vivid imagination that, yeah, I can take those photos like that, because it gives me a chance to take photos that feel like an adventure. When I went to India and Tanzania, my photography got gradually better. I'd sort of be more intentional with what I was shooting, and just I kind of had more of a keen eye about what I wanted to present and what I wanted to post.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Literally not perfect, was it?
Video! Woo! Hey, Sandy!
Tanzania was a very fulfilling trip because it was much closer to home, even though I never lived in Tanzania. But my parents are Ugandan, so I've never really had that chance to really feel connected to my roots. But that's what happens when you're in the city all the time when you go visit. But when you kind of go on the outskirts surrounded by landscapes and you're just in a small village and with just these different individuals who bring a more broader point of view than what you're just used to, especially living in Toronto, then you kind of get a more appreciation about what's there. We got a chance to go to the Serengeti at one point, and I'd say out of anything that I've done, especially my service trips, being in the safari in this wide, massive open field with all these animals, I think that's probably the closest thing to peace that I've ever had, just because you're literally in a Jeep with like crammed with 4 other people, and you don't have to worry about anything that's going on in the outside world, and you're literally just surrounded by animals. It really does feel like an adventure. I really was able to check that off, and it really has inspired me that if I go to other countries in Africa, that's the first thing that I want to do. Maybe spend like a few days in the city, but sooner or later I just want to go to the forestry or stay in the village for a couple of days and just see what I can sort of pick up and take. I think a lot of the culture shock which you hear from a lot of Westerners didn't hit for me as much as it did for them, because I've seen that lifestyle, especially the frequent visits that I have when I go to Uganda during the holidays. Rather than feeling culture shocked, I was more appreciative. It just brought me back to feeling connected to what I would do when I was going to Uganda. There's just a lot of familiarity, and I hope those who are experiencing it for the first time are finding that appreciation as well. The importance of just connections really has become vital to me. I want to feel like I'm actually adding something, where I'm not just cooped up in a room, not doing anything without a sense of direction. It really comes down to memory. When you're in social media, you see like a lot of photos of people with their friends sharing these moments, especially like the ones where you have the disposable photos, the ones that feel more candid and more real. And so through the years, I really allowed myself to reflect back on previous relationships and see what I'm looking for in those friendships. And I want to be able to have those more meaningful opportunities rather than just something that I can just put on the gram. I think it's a good way to sort of know where I was, where I am now. I like to think with each year and each season, there's always like a different set of people that come into your life, and with those people you kind of become a different person. I want to be able to look back on those photos and said that I did live my best self, because like when I started taking photos with my disposable, it was really just like a social media opportunity, whereas right now I think these days, because I've gotten more older and I look at my relationships and take them more seriously, I want to try to take every moment with grace. There have been times where I've managed to collaborate with people and they've sort of brought their 2 cents into it. I've managed to gain a new perspective in things. And with those networks, I've been able to sort of, find myself artistically and explore and experiment more. Back in TMU, I did this photo project where I put self-expression and monochromatic fashion into one thing. So I really wanted to play around with color symbolism in a way that twists them around. I really wanted to show that people come from different ways of life. So even though with this color representation, this particular individual can bring something different to that particular color. I think that was one of those few times where I think I really became confident in my own creative process, especially as a photographer, and where I was able to sort of be more open to these perspectives and just really appreciate collaboration for what it is. When you find people who are just as much into the arts and are just as much interested in what you have to offer, it then makes me more inspired and more confident in really showing it to them. As I continue to grow as a creative, I hope the same can be said about my community as well. As an artist, I've always been someone that's always wanted to figure out what is it that I can bring to the table, in the sense that I'm not someone that just likes to stay in one place. Whatever I see, I want to capture that. When I look back on these photos, digital, disposable, or even Polaroid, I want to look at it in a way that I was able to create a world that's very distinctive to me. And I had all these people and this environment to play around with. When you look at it from a more artistic point of view, it's really just about showing who you are and just showing that you do have a voice and that you're not just going to sit back and waste it. I mean, all it takes is a click.